chemistry, laboratory, or whatever, you could create the conditions where a soul would enter that body. And you're back to the same thing. It's still a soul inside the body who's a conscious agent operating it. So you can't eliminate that, actually. But young people, what we find is interesting, because we do these little analysis from time to time. The average young person, you're all young people relative to us, and if they're filling out, statistical surveys, and if they ask them, like, are you religious? They'll say no. Right? But if they say, are you a spiritual person? They go, oh, yes. So what does it tell us? They don't like religion. We don't like religion. We're not like big religious people in a conventional sense. Among our friends, they would be surprised that we'd be the last guys in the world to be so-called religious. But because it means all the stereotypes about religion. We're not talking about pure Bhagavad religion. The stereotype of what religion is, we also object to that. But on the spiritual side, those same kids who say, I'm not religious, all say that spiritually they're inclined to believe in spiritual things. But they recognize that they're not educated about it. So what do we see of these movements? They want to go back to what they consider authentic culture. Just like in China, now they're looking back, like, oh, maybe we did have something here that's really valuable and deep, and let's go back to that. Even she is encouraging like Confucianism and ancient Chinese culture. Same thing in India and other parts of the world. So, and on a practical side, a lot of Indians are doctors in America, and so what stem cell research is? Like, genetic engineering. Some people have a moral problem with that. And most of them are of a Judeo-Christian background. But they do, they survey everything. So they found that, they interviewed all these doctors, and they found the Indian doctors didn't have a problem with it. And they go, why? And they go, we have this in Mahabharata and the Bhagavatam, the 100 Kauravas made from this is all in our ancient stories. We have this kind of thing. We don't have a problem with it. So it shows that actually this type of spiritual thinking is actually more compatible with modern technological culture, not less compatible.
Well, what I also answered, and I said that many young people especially, they don't like the idea of religion.
Organized religion.
Yeah. Now, I said, they'll say organized religion. I'd say, first of all, even if somebody wanted to speak not favorably about us, if they said we were religion, which we don't consider ourselves to be, they'd have to say that we're disorganized religion.
Right.
But in any event...
Nitya Hari said that. I want to give him credit. He said, we cannot be accused of being organized religion. And he was speaking sarcastically.
But what I've said to people is that, all right, it is not necessarily wrong to not believe in religion, because so many abuses have been committed in the name of religion.
Right.
But if somebody wants to say that, or cannot recognize that life itself is a non-conceptualized, or we could say is not somebody has to recognize that life itself is it's a spiritual, right. Itself, you have to recognize that life itself it's spiritual. You can't quantize life.
The English word, like aspiration, aspire, and breathe, it can mean to breathe, but also to hope for better things. That's the word spirit comes from that. It means that which is living and breathing and full of life.
So I would say if somebody can't recognize that life itself, whatever words you wish to use, you can't recognize that that itself is a divine or a spiritual experience, if you can't recognize that, then you're a very shallow thinker. A very shallow person cannot see that there's something, beyond just their mundane calculations as to what life is.
And if we're just chemistry, basically, right, by, like any other thing, then why so much tears when someone dies? Or why are we so affected by that if it's nothing was really lost? Because we know you don't have to be a deep philosopher or a science, just common sense. You feel something. We feel something we had our dog here. We felt for him, Milo. The devotees had love and affection for him. He has for them too, because we sensed his spiritual presence. And the same thing for all of us. Who's seeing through these eyes, right? Using the eyes to see, the ears to hear. There's someone inside. That's who we're dealing with. And that's why, like, I would think, like, I've had so many Mac computers, right? I don't feel nostalgia for any of them. I only care about the one I have right now. I don't go, oh, that one I had in 1987, that was really a good one. No, it's just a piece of, I don't even want to see it. I'm embarrassed that I had that computer now. There's no nostalgia. It doesn't touch you, those things, because it has no spirit or presence.
But there is one point where it would have some nostalgia. If it was given to you by somebody that you had some affection for,
right,
then it may become outdated, but you may keep it beyond its date of being outdated because, this was a present from my beloved, gave me this.
We save things.
This is somebody I love gave me this. So then, then I have some affection for it. Then it becomes transformed from something just being a detestable, object to being,
Well, again, why does it have meaning? Because of subjective value. When you look at it, you see something and feel something. Another person would not. But it's meaningful to you. So what it's telling us is real value is in the subjective realm, not in the objective world. These things are only valuable because, like Guru Maharaj will say, like gold, right? Chinese know a lot about gold. In Thailand, you want to buy gold, you have to go to a Chinese shop. But anyway, and the Indians, gold. It's very, in Asia, gold. But Guru Maharaj said, gold means nothing to a dog. Like a book means nothing to a dog. Or maybe it's something you put in his mouth, right? So the gold, it's of no value to him in his world. And it doesn't mean it has no value, but to him it has no value. He can't perceive its value because his consciousness is not developed to understand that. So really, the real spiritual substance is in the subjective realm of consciousness. So Guru Maharaj introduced this idea called subjective evolution of consciousness, that all this world is like an iceberg floating in an ocean of consciousness. The consciousness is the vast substance.
And Guru Maharaj also explains that you cannot even experience anything unless you bring it to the conscious plane.
Yes, and he said, and that's why in the East, they're not foolish people. The great thinkers and sages in the East and the past, when they address the sun personally, or the moon, or the river, he's saying because it's all floating in consciousness, behind it all are personalities. They're not foolish to think literally the river is a person, but they know behind it is consciousness. So they address like Jamuna as a person who's like in a play appearing as a river. Like I give this example, little children, they come home from school and they're having a play in the school, and the parents will say like, well, which part are you? And they go, I'm a flower. And then they have to, they make a face with little petals on it, and so they go, and they're very happy. I'm a flower in the play. So Guru said, it's like that in Krishna Lila. Someone's the river, someone's the moon, the sky. Behind it is a person. These are parts that they're playing. So when they address them personally, they're not foolish, but it's a very deep way of seeing things.
So now we'll sing Hari
Yes.
Harai. I can get this.
Besides us, can someone sing? Or?
I'll get this spider off my...
Uh-huh. You want to sing?
All right. This time I'll use Cortez.
Okay. But just to conclude, these arguments always go on, and they're there in the times of Mahaprabhu, and these two scholars are arguing. One understands who Mahaprabhu is, the other person doesn't. They're quoting back and forth. And then he says, anyway, he said, why should we continue? He said, it's not a question of knowledge. You got to get a little bit of mercy. And then he goes, oh, and you've got the mercy and I don't? He said, yes, because I understand who he is and you don't. But later he becomes a devotee. But he tells them, this isn't intellectualism or being a better arguer than another person. You got to have a little mercy to get it. That's what Yudamanyu gave you all. He brought you a little mercy and then you got it. There you go. Yes.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha
Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha
Gopal Govindaram Shimarusudana
Gopal Govindaram Shimarusudana
Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohana
Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohana
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra
Gananara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda
Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda
Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath
Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Raghunath
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhakta Raghunath
Jai Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandha
Hey Jai Gosai Gauri Charana Bandha
Jai Jai Vignana Sabisha Pura
Jai Te Vignana Shavishya Pura
Jai Gosai Jhanvi Charana
Hey Jai Gosai Jamuni Narada Dansabara Pradarinu Mura Panchada Danira Charana Devi Bhakta Sadeva Janame Janame Moriya Vila Hey Jai Gosai Jave Bhaja Kurava Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korela Prata Anande Golo Hari Bhaja Vrindava Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Manjariyama Harinam Sankirtanam Kore Narottam Raja.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Srila Bhakti Rakha Siddhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Jai Saparikar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Jiu ki jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Shri Gupta Govardhan ki jai. Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki jai. Om Vishnupad Vishvavarena Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Bimlavadut Maharaj ki jai. Seva Vrinda ki jai. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. The Chongqing Mahila Sakha Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. And all of our, Russian devotees, Ukrainian devotees, and ki jai, and the Hungarian devotee ki jai. I leave out any country. The people who are online ki jai. Sokel Ashram ki jai.
Srila Bhakti
Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
For Premanande.
Where is Nandini? What happened to her? Oh, she's in the back. Okay.